Here's your heads up. Heads up to this 5-minute quickie. As usual, it's gone not a lot longer than 5 minutes, but longer than 5 minutes. And it's all about a yoga video. It's all about a project of mine and getting overwhelmed and anchoring motivation and getting our dreams quicker, our goals quicker. Success. Have a listen.
Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Point towards the pose. That's what you got to do, Point towards the pose. I'll come back to that in a minute. Now, you've all heard of me talk about Tony Robbins, especially the part that he says virtually everybody, not everybody, but virtually everybody overestimates what they can do in the short term. We all do, don't we? Well, I know I do. It rang true to me. But he also said we tend to underestimate what we can do in the long term. So our long-term goals tend to be too far out, and our short-term goals seem to be, in the end, overwhelming because we just cram too much in. And I'm as guilty as the rest of you, if you're guilty, by the way. So I'm as guilty as me for doing this type of thing. And you see, I get an idea, and I get totally motivated, and I work 100 miles an hour. And what happens? Boom! I'm going, and then things start to, I wish I'd done something different. I wish I'd done this, or why didn't I think of that? Happened to me recently. I've got a new project coming on, and I'm going to talk to you about that later. Not today, but another time, because you'll hear about it anyway. But I had this new idea. A little bit of the old synchronicity or just attraction or whatever it was, but something came into my mind, and I thought, absolutely, I'm going to do this. And I flew into everything. I had my notes out. I was using Workflowy, and I was getting different type of, all sorts of different pictures and words and things. And I was getting a flow going, and this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it over there, do it there. And all of a sudden I thought, is this going to work? And I started to doubt myself. My mind went into overdrive. Now, I still think it's the right thing to do. And I'm going to do it, but I'm going to slow down just a little bit because of pointing towards the pose. You see, one good thing about that feeling that you get when you work at 100 miles an hour like that, when you're totally motivated to do it, you are obsessed. One good thing about that is anchor it there and then. What's anchoring, Paul? For some of you who maybe haven't heard about the anchoring is an NLP technique. It's probably a technique in other things, but certainly anchoring is something you hear a song at a time when you're emotionally intense or an intense emotional period in your life, and they get linked. So years later, you hear that song and you go back to that emotion. It's like the smell of your mother's cooking, or the supermarkets where they pump that smell of new baked bread to the front of the shop, and you go, I get that lovely feeling. So we're anchoring the emotional effect to a stimulus. So if you're really motivated, you're in the flow, you just know you've got all the energy you want, and you're going to do it, and you've got that mindset, that positive belief. Anchor it. You can anchor it with a finger and thumb, a knuckle. Just touch, and that knuckle is when you're feeling it, and you go boom. I tend to go boom with it, or have another word for different things, because that's a good thing to have, and we can use that later. But at the moment, by going at 100 miles an hour, we don't tend to see everything. Our focus is so foveal visioned. It's to the point, and we want to get it open, get that peripheral vision open, so we can start to take in more information. We can see everything that we need. We can still do it, but we won't go backwards and forwards and things like that. And in fact, one of the things you'll probably do is you'll get there quicker. And when you get there quicker, you'll probably feel more solid in what you've done. You'll feel confident in what you've done. It's like having a knowing of a knowing that you've done the best you can, and probably want to even improve it even more, but you'll have to get to a point where you go, whoa, that's enough. Where did this all come from? Pointing towards a pose? Well, think about it. Yoga. I do yoga. I love yoga. And the thing is, I was just by chance watching a yoga video, and it stopped me in my tracks, because this lady says, well, I want you to point towards a pose. She said, you see, sometimes we overstretch, don't we? If you think about yoga and you want to do this particular pose, you see other people who are more flexible than you. They've done it slightly longer. Maybe just their body's a little bit more looser or whatever. And you get sloppy. You see, you try too much. You get bad habits because you're trying to overextend. You're never quite getting there because it's something like you're out of alignment because you've done a little bit too much. In fact, you get injured. And injured can be emotionally scarred, I guess. Emotionally injured if you're doing other things too quickly. So basically this lady says, point towards the pose. Don't overstretch. Don't overextend yourself. But do it with the intention of the finished pose. And that's what we do. That's what we talk about here, isn't it? Having that intention to complete our goal. We know what the goal looks like. We know what it's going to feel like. We know what we'll see, we'll hear. And that's where we're going to point to, our goal, our outcome. But then the words were a little done correctly is so much better than a lot done sloppily. Is sloppily a word? I'm saying that again anyway. A little done correctly is better than a lot done sloppily. And if you do anything, maybe you do yoga. Maybe you do things like meditation. Those things where you do little increments. You'll know this is just so right. As I say, it avoids if it's physical injury. People who go to the gym and they want to lift too much too quickly. What happens? They either use a bad technique, therefore they're not going to get the results. They injure themselves, which means they can't get back to the gym. And they have to start again, and they'll probably do the same thing. So if you think about a project, something you're doing, something you want, you've got to know what you want, the outcome in mind, that goal. Maybe just imagineer it exactly how you want it, so you know exactly what you're aiming for. You know what you're going to see. You know what you're going to hear. You know what you're going to feel. And then we talk about baby steps, don't we? What is a baby step? It's that little done correctly, with the feeling of the wish fulfilled. The feeling of the wish fulfilled, Neville Goddard. Imagining having that goal. The feeling of the wish fulfilled. And if you hold that feeling and then just point towards the pose and do that little bit correctly. I think sometimes even just a little bit correctly is, for me, looking at that project again and going, hang on a minute, let's really look at the goal and what are the most important steps I've got to make. Because I was making hundreds of different steps and they were coming at me so randomly. Now, luckily enough, I wrote them all down. So now I can access them, I can start to move them around and hopefully see things more clearly by pointing towards that pose, that goal, that end in mind. And then when I know exactly what I want to do, boom, or whatever type of anchor you're going to fire off to get that motivation, that old motivation, that 110% energy. Now you know where you're going and now you can fire that bullet. Now we are really taking aim and then firing, not firing and then taking aim. Was it ready, fire, aim, isn't it? So what we're going to be is ready. We're then going to aim towards that target, that goal in mind, and then we're going to fire with all that motivation, but doing the right things. And we're also then going to be looking to know that we haven't overestimated what we're going to do in that short term. And we know that we're going to bring forward in the long term. So we've really got some good milestones now, and which we can look to beat, obviously. But we'll be solid in our feelings. We'll be confident, competent, and just have that knowing. Because, and one of the reasons this is important to me is because this is how dreams get fulfilled. When we really put all our passion into it, but into those goals in the right way. By pointing towards the pose and just getting a little done correctly. Over and over again. Hey, I hope that makes sense to you. It was just, again, it's one of those things that just popped out in front of me, and the universe is going, hey, Paul, when you think about it, why did that come along just as I was getting right into the meat of this new project and getting lost? Because I was getting a bit lost. I was getting overwhelmed. Who knows? Synchronicity, coincidence, getting lucky, I guess. Or the old universe, multiverse was looking down upon me and said, Cluffy, hey, I'm going to give you a bit more advice, a bit of a direction. Always works. Always bloody works. I don't know why I'm astounded by it, because it always does work. Hey, let me know if this means anything to you. Or maybe if you've got a project and you just suddenly stop for a moment. Slow down, become aware, get that peripheral vision. Even the metaphor of peripheral vision of your project. So you can take in all the information. Know where the poise is pointing to, or where you're pointing towards that pose. And let me know just how that changes or changed the success of that project. Because I know it will. There's no doubt in my mind. You will get far more better success, especially when you fire that anchor off. Because you will. If you do that, that would be awesome. So you can do that through the email feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. So do that for me. And here's my sort of like a call to action, I guess, is I'd love you to share this with 5 people. Just 5 people. That's all. So if you've listened to this, you've got something out of it, just as a way of paying it forward, or giving a little bit of thanks to me for spending my time doing this for you. And I love doing it, by the way. I'm not doing it for this, but I want you to share it just because it grows this show, it grows this podcast, so more people get affected. And if we've got more people who are getting their dreams, what a wonderful world this is going to be. Especially when we've got the right core values of making this world a better place. So if you could share that with 5 people. And the last little call to action, have you subscribed? If you haven't, would you do that? Because you'll get these programs or these episodes twice a week. Still doing them twice a week. Wednesdays and Saturdays. Wherever you are in the world, they'll be around there somewhere. And so please subscribe. And if you want to, there's always that little review. Okay? So until next time, enjoy with my compliments. And I look forward to speaking to you next time. Enjoy every heartbeat. And just wonder. You could just wonder, what would it be like if your unconscious mind was to surprise you? Yeah, really surprise you. Speaking to you, the unconscious mind. What would it be like if you surprised them for feeling happy? By feeling happy for no reason. Hey, just let that go now. Okay. Until next time, bye-bye now.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.